Greetings fans, hyperfans, and people just lost looking for videos of cats on YouTube. Today we're going to be reviewing... No... Greetings fans, hyperfans, and people just lost looking for videos of cats on YouTube. Today we have the first of the deluxe Titans Return Season 2 figures. I'd like to thank TF Direct for getting these out to me so quickly. I thought I would start with Chromedome because I have just reviewed Rewind, who is his partner in the More Than Meets the Eye comic, and also because he's kind of the one that I really wanted out of this set. He is a very peculiar mix of IDW style faceplate and very G1-esque body. He is absolutely covered in paint applications. He has the same sort of clear Cybertronian wheels that have appeared on pretty much all of this series, I think. But the tampographs, the paint details are all really nice. The only thing that I don't like about all of this is the red on the faceplate and on the roof. It looks like a really thick enamel paint. You know, the kind that when you've just started on Warhammer figures or something, you just really put on because it's nice and shiny and obliterates all details. But apart from that, he's really quite nice. Plastic quality, I don't usually talk about that with the Hasbro official stuff, but most of it is pretty much up to par. But this red, which unfortunately also makes up part of the Headmaster, it's a little bit Poundland. I'm sure it's going to be fine, but it's definitely a slightly thinner, more brittle plastic than I'm used to from the Big H. He comes with 2, possibly 3 accessories. He has this gun here, which looks very much like its G1 counterpart. No paint details on there at all, hollow underneath. Does have a port as well as a plug, so you can combine these together. And this rather larger one, which is actually hollow on this side, and I will get back to that in a moment. I said 3 accessories because, as well as the weapons, does this count as an accessory? He is a Titan Master. This is what we are now calling Headmasters. I think even Power Masters and Target Masters are all being called Titan Masters. Everything is a Headmaster these days. Very simply unfold him, spin his head round, and we have Stylor. Complete lack of paint on the figure itself. I mean, face, lovely, got 2 very bright colours sprayed in there. But this side, yeah, he's kind of a non-entity. He's got ball joints at the arms, which give him about, what's that, 10 degrees of movement, and obviously up and down, but only that far before it starts to whack up against that back plate. The head is on a ball joint, because that also becomes the ball joint for the neck. The legs are on a 90-degree bend there, and a 180-degree bend at the knee and a 90-degree bend at the hips. If anybody is looking at these and thinking it should be really easy to just saw down the middle of those in order to make the legs work independently, it would be, except it's the knees that are metal pinned and the hip joints are just I'm not going to risk it, but they seem to be either frictioned on or it's a bar going through, so you're going to have to do a little bit more optimization if you wanted to do that mod. He does interact with the weapons. He can actually use that as a little rocket sled. The legs have actually got a few sort of divots and pegs on them, so they can go into various vehicles and hold quite securely there. So yep, there's Stylor in his second vehicle. Actually, let's get close up of this guy. So if we actually zoom in on Stylor, you can see that he's got some really nice moulded detail, but it's all very much lost in that sort of lack of paintwork. Anyone who is into Warhammer or War Machine or any other small plastic figure painting may be able to pull out an awful lot of detail on that. The head sculpt, I think, sort of promises like a huge amount, but it's kind of not delivered in that single colour. Just for a size comparison, there he is next to a standard Lego figure, and there he is next to Hasbro's last attempt at a Headmaster, which is Brainstorm's pilot Arceus, I believe. Now if I just turn him round, you can see that he has sort of this nub on the back of his leg, which acts as a heel spur and a clip for some of these. Two little divots there, and two peg holes at the bottom. And that's how he interacts with the different weapons, vehicles, etc. So the actual head-on mechanism is pretty straightforward. It's a peculiarly shaped friction clip, and the head either goes in one way or the other. It's slightly different from bot to bot and head to head. You know, once it's on, it's pretty firmly on. The original 80s gimmick of the heads showing up a tech spec when it plugs in has disappeared. This red block here actually pretty much represents where the tab would fold down on the G1 version. Because of transformation, there is this lifting section, but it does tend to knock the head off if you're not careful to get it on the right one of the two hinges. And I'm pretty sure that someone like Repro Labels will do a sticker for there with a fake tech display on it. This is probably the first deluxe I've picked up from the Combiner Wars or Titan Master Deluxe range, and I really was a little bit surprised at the size of him. Chromedome actually seems the largest of the ones out of this set, but if I bring in Trailbreaker from the last Generations line, he's actually a little bit taller than him, but if I bring in somebody particularly lanky like Prowl, he's still a good head shorter. Obviously, he scales very well with the Legends bots, like rewind there. So he's not a bad size, he just looks a little bit on the tiny side. But this was a complaint I'd heard a lot about the Combiner Wars figures, and I kind of see why that's continued on to this line, because Chromedome in particular is a very heavy reshell of some of the carbots from that series. I'll show you what I mean. So transforming him is kind of easy, but still quite satisfying. The back just concertinas out. The arms swivel back in, making sure to fold the fists in. I'm going to leave the arms bent for the moment, and I'll show you why in a second. The feet open up and double over. And I'm just going to spin that whole waist section before closing the legs, straightening the feet out. And that's really easy to pop out of those joints if you're not careful. And then everything should just peg into place. And then that piece just folds over. Now these two pegs have to be pushed pretty hard to clip in. The feet actually fold into two little gaps on the lower torso. And there you have a pretty cool looking Cybertronian car. We'll get Stylor into sitting down driving position. Turn his head round. And he's actually got the most natural of interaction positions. He just drops into that single seater there. We undo these two pieces, make sure they're pegged together as they come in, and they just crunch down there, giving a pretty accurate recreation of the G1 model. It's still that sort of very 70s brown and cream. I think the only difference really in the way it looks is it doesn't have the arms literally lying along the side of the car. No pegs on the top, which means that you are taking his weapons and doing the standard trick on these things of just pegging them into the side, which I have to say is not brilliant. In vehicle mode, he's significantly longer than Trailbreaker, a little bit wider. So actually he seems to have a lot more mass in vehicle mode, and I love the fact that you can see Stylor through the windshield there. In vehicle mode he does interact with other Titan Masters, and to be honest, that transformation is actually pretty satisfying. I'm a little worried about the fact that this guy is part of the second series, because we're pretty unlucky getting second series in the UK. As I said, TF Direct have currently got the entire range for something ridiculously low. There are other online retailers, but actually I think this guy's really worth picking up. So, this has been Titan's Return Chromedome. I've been Macula, and until next time, remember, if you're keeping the mint in package, you're not a toy collector, you're a box collector.
Nice!